Yeah, it was just, what are the odds that it abbreviates it to be killed?
That's good.
So what we're going to do today, we have a little bit of time that I want to spend on talking about what's called the design process, which, I mean, if you've ever thought about building something or making something from scratch, this is really what you do. And whether or not you realize that you did this with the Rube Goldberg contraptions, it was like kind of the beginning of it. And the whole essence of the design process is what it takes from start to finish for a product. A product or a service, I should say, one of the two. So think about, like, I mean, even new services that are out today. I mean, Uber's not like new, but new relatively speaking. Something like that. There's a lot that goes into it. It's obviously not just like, somebody comes up the next day and says, I want to start a company that does this, or I want to start this service, or I want to build this product, or invent something and it'll work by tomorrow. There's a whole process that's involved. So we're going to go through the steps that are involved. When I was taking freshman engineering courses, this is one of the things we did. And it is not, like, I was kind of myself a little bit bored about it because I didn't understand how important it is until I was more of a senior. And when I was a senior engineer, we did our capstone projects, like the year-long projects that everybody would work on as engineers. And at that point, it kind of really clicked that this is actually extremely important. Because in the beginning, you're saying, well, obviously, this is stuff I think about if I wanted to make something or build something. But it's important to follow some sort of logical flow and manner to it. So we're going to go through all the different steps. I think your book outlines 8 steps I gave you. Yeah. When I was in school, we had like a 6-step process. So there's probably like 2 of the steps that are separated into different entities. And you're going to see that some of them overlap. So we're going to talk about generalization of things, like coming up with the idea, and then actually implementing it, modeling it on the computer, then actually building it or constructing it or manufacturing it. So we're going to go through all those steps. I already put a reading assignment up for you. That's going to be due on Friday. It's only like 7 pages out of your book. So make sure you get that done before Friday. I plan to give you like a short quiz on that. And then on Friday, what we're going to do, is either A, finish this. Hopefully we'll be able to finish today. And B, start what's called instrumentation and measurements. And that's going to help you because on the next, you're still working on some of those CAD assignments, but on one of the coming CAD assignments, it's going to be up to you to decide the product or the item or whatever it is that you're going to 3D design. And then you're going to actually print it and see how it turns out. So you need to have, in the next week or so, a thought process of what you want to make, something that you already have. So for example, a simple example of something, Dylan made golf tees last year. And he actually made them like perfect. So when he 3D printed the golf tees, they were identical to the ones he had. He did a great job of measuring. Ev did this little like spatula she uses in her art class. I think it's for when you're using like putty or something that's malleable. It's for like smoothing it over, but it's a little spatula. And she modeled hers, and it was almost like identical. I'm trying to think of the others that people brought in, but it was something simple, but it took a lot of measurements that needed. Like for example, a golf tee, as small and simple as it looks, there's a lot of measurements that are involved. Knowing the curvature of the actual tip of the golf tee is going into the ground, knowing the curvature of where the golf ball sits is extremely important. If that's not correct, the ball won't sit properly. The height of it, obviously, the contouring of the actual cross-section, you got perfectly down. So that's what your goal is going to be, to think about an object maybe in the next, a week or so. And then once we go over measurement instrumentation, which allows you to measure all the different parameters of it, you're going to have to design it yourself. Okay, so start keeping that in the back of your mind as we're going through this design process phase. So let's start with the first we're going to talk about, is there a need for the product or the service itself? So the example here shows Einstein with roller skates on, and then what do you see in the bubble? They're not roller skates, what are they? Anybody know what those even called now? Roller blades, yeah. There's not really a huge difference between roller skates and roller blades, but what happened when people invented roller blades? You began to use a lot more things you had a lot more things like roller hockey. So roller hockey was really big for a long time. It was mainly ice hockey, but roller hockey came about because of roller blades, actually. Roller skates, you were not agile enough to move on these and play hockey. You need like one surface that you can turn on, you can bend on. So the idea of roller blades, somebody said, you know what, we've got these things called ice skates, but we've got roller skates. Let's put them together. And they have a blade out of those wheels. So this is a combination of roller skates and ice skates, really. So the question first is always, again, is there a need for the product? Right now, there's no need for rollerblades, they already exist. That's absolutely, but maybe you want to innovate it, maybe you want to change it, and that's what we're going to talk about later in this design process of things that may already exist, but you're going to modify them. You're going to tweak them a little bit, change them, make them better. And that's kind of where we're at in society today, if you noticed. When was the last time, and I gave you a reading at the beginning of the year, remember innovation versus invention? It was like a one-page reading. I was like, you should probably read it, it's really interesting. You might not have. Today's day and age, we're not really about inventions as much anymore as we're about innovations. What's the difference between the two? For somebody who may have read that article here.
Innovation is more like improving upon something that's already been created and inventing it
Yeah, what's inventing? From
scratch.
Yeah, from the beginning. So there's definitely stuff that has been invented in the last, say 20, 30 years, but the majority of things are modified. They're innovative. So even things like, the electric car, the new cars that are coming out, the Tesla battery, all that kind of stuff, yeah, those are definitely new things, but they're not brand new. There's definitely something that existed already in that technology field that people have started to modify and change so that, you have maybe more efficient processes or better services or better products that might save you more time or help you to, make your life easier in general. So first of all is recognizing a need for the actual product or service. So what I was kind of talking about is up here already. Making things easier, increasing efficiency, a solution to a problem. And think about it, this is it's stupid to say, but anytime somebody complains about something, well, why are people complaining? Because things are not maybe optimized properly. The other day, the phone in our office has been out for a while, and I remember Mr. Linus in the middle of an important phone call, and the call lost, in the middle of it. And he got really upset. I don't blame him. He's in the middle of talking to a parent. It looks like he might have just hung up or something. And he couldn't even make a call out after that. The number that came in wasn't on there, and the phone system kind of just went dead on itself. So there's clearly something wrong with it, right? There's something that needs to be fixed, and obviously, people like Mr. Richard was able to fix that. That's why he came up and fixed the phone system. Not today, he's not here, obviously. Okay, but the idea about when you hear someone complain, think about that. People complain because, either they like to complain, or there's actually some sort of issue that can be resolved in some fashion or another, usually resolved by some engineer or somebody who can think up a solution to the problem. Remember in the first chapter of the year, we talked about what is an engineer and what do engineers do? And we said how, as a kid, it's somebody who likes to tinker. As they get older, it's someone who's a good problem solver. And then eventually, obviously, it's someone who majors in the field of engineering. Well, somebody who likes to problem solve would solve, those issues that everybody has with complaining and everything they want to make better. So the first step, recognizing a need. Second, is defining the problem and understanding what it is. So you may understand that there's a need for something. For example, right here, this is very simple. See this little attachment on the end of the sink? When we got these labs designed and built the last few years, these were not here. It was just a sink like this, and when you turn the water on, the water would fly out and kind of spray everywhere. These little nozzles were not designed properly or they should not have been implemented here. And I personally don't know why they were, because I remember when Mr. Joseph was talking about the chem lab and Ms. Myers about the bio lab when we were all designing these ourselves, one of the things they said was not to have these nozzles on the sink. They're great if you need them, but they should be easily removable. They're not. They're permanently fixed here. So instead of us, having them come in, fix this, put a new sink in, Ms. Myers, the one who thought of this, she was like, well, just get one of these hoses and what you could actually do. And it's actually pretty nice because you can move it. And when she's cleaning stuff in the bio lab, it's easier to control the flow. So that's what this is here for. Without it, the water would shoot out in a really small stream and hit the sink and spray up everywhere. So actually defining what the problem was. The problem here was the water was kind of spraying up all over the place, right? People were getting wet. It didn't make sense. It wasn't logical. So that was the actual problem's definition. Now, when we relate this to actual real-life engineering, and where you're going to be looking at, working with clients and working with consultants and different companies, we have to consider the fact that what are we going to ask the client? What are some of the problems we want to ask them? So let's think about that for a second. So you want to come up with a new product, and somebody needs something. So let's say I am, I'm a designer, and I want to make this new product, and I ask you, I say, you know what, I need a certain amount of propulsion from this engine or whatever it is. What are some questions you might respond to me with? If I tell you I need an engine so that it propels something forward, what are some questions you would have to ask me so that you can make the product?
How much money do you have for a portable station?
Should it be portable or stationary? Good.
How much money do you have?
How much money do you have? What's your budget?
What type of engine?
What type of engine is it going to be? Is going to be something that already exists that you're going to modify, or something brand new? So you're asking questions of the client so that you can make a product that makes sense. Like, you're not going to, as an engineer, design and create something for somebody, and then suddenly you give it to them and they're like, this isn't what we wanted. Well, if you don't ask the right questions and know what they're actually desiring, you're not going to be able to give them that. We take the actual tasks and subdivide them. Subdivide them into groups. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. You're never just going to work with mechanical engineers if you're a mechanical engineer. You're going to work with other types of engineers because any product or service does not involve just mechanical nature. It doesn't involve just chemical. Even stuff like if you're in pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals are where they're like inventing new drugs, inventing new things to help people that suffer from illnesses. It's not just chemical engineers that are working in that field. Mechanical engineers are working on the actual manufacturing of it, the products actually themselves, how they're designed, how they're built. The actual chemical engineer might be looking at the chemical makeup only. You might need an electrical engineer. The electrical engineer might be there for, I don't know, some sort of the research process. Maybe they need machines that can actually do a little bit more research. And then considering the fact that work can be done across several different companies. So although you might be an engineer working on one company, or working for one company, you might be able to take that product and use it at others. So as far as research is concerned, and this is something that I asked you guys to do when you were doing your Rube Goldberg contraption, I said, well, if you want to, look at other things that have been done. Look at sample Rube Goldbergs online and see what people have done. I think one of yours, at the very end, you put the nail through the middle and then spun it. That was something like, well, that's really just a compass. That's all it is, right? You have a pin down the middle, something that can spin freely. So researching, does the product already exist? Am I going to modify it if it does? Can I change it so that it's still something that's useful, but at the same time it's not reinventing the wheel? Right? You never want to reinvent something that already exists in some sort of a successful manner. Now, that doesn't mean obviously that you just say like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this product and modify the simplest thing and call my own. You probably run into patent laws and copyright laws and things like that at that point in time. Okay, so you do need to change things about it, but you do want to do research on things so that you're not doing something over. You're not recreating something that already exists. Now, what if you wanted to make a new design for a refrigerator? Right? And you're a manufacturing company and you're trying to come up with this refrigerator. You're probably not going to design every single component of the refrigerator. What are you going to do? Say you need like, modify it, good. But you're not going to design every component. Like for example, on a refrigerator, how does the door stay shut when you close it? This usually, old school ones have that what? What is around the door? Yeah. Well, it's a magnetic strip that's around the door, like some sort of foam that closes. You're probably not going to design that yourself when you're making refrigerators. You outsource, right? You work with other companies. So does part of your design already exist? If so, can you get them mass produced? And once it's mass produced, can you minimize the cost of mass producing it? Can you tell the company that already makes those magnetic strips around the door, well, you know what? We don't need it to be as strong because the door already itself is enough, moment of inertia to close. So we don't have to worry about that. So you could, soup or, what's the word? What's the opposite of like souping something up?
Soup it down.
Yeah, no, that's not really, that's what I was going to say, but it doesn't seem to make sense. I don't want to say dumb it down, but yeah, make it simpler so that you cut back on costs. So you look for something that already exists and maybe you modify that small thing as a small piece of your overall product. Okay, does that component already exist? Obviously, you're going to collect research and data from other companies and then look at all that organized data. Now, there's a lot of money that goes into R&D. When you buy Bose speakers, some of the best speakers, that are out there for, an average customer, not those. Has anyone seen these new headphones that came out recently that are supposed to be the best headphones ever? It's like $70,000 for one pair of headphones. It's absurd to think about that. People won't pay for that. But think about like Bose headphones that are like $200, $300, whatever they may be. You're not paying for the mechanical nature of it at all. You're not. The physical, mechanical, like the product itself might cost them $10 to manufacture, 15 maybe. The machinery maybe costs, another like $5 an hour, and it costs many hours. So maybe overall, the cost for this entire thing is like $20. They sell it for $300 because they paid all that money for the engineers and the researchers to come in and actually invent this. A lot of what you're paying for when you get a product is the R&D, the research and design. How many people take medication that might be not generic? Anybody in here take any medicine that's not a generic? It's not a generic. So let's say you take like Lipitor, something for cholesterol. Okay, Lipitor is patented. Now, there are things that are called generics that after the patent expires, other companies can kind of recreate what they've made, and patents have certain lengths of life to them. So when you pay for R&D for something like Lipitor, when you're going and it's a new product that's on the market, especially pharmaceutical, it's huge. The research and design is where all the cost comes into play. The actual chemical makeup of that pill is pretty much zero cost. You're like paying nothing for the pill itself. You're paying all for the research and design. And that's why when generics take over those patents, and like for example, I have to take cholesterol medicine unfortunately because it's in my family history. So I started on like the smallest amount possible. You can range from like 5 milligrams up to like 50 milligrams. So I take 2.5 milligrams. I cut the pill in half and take it every other day. And it's just because my grandfather died when he was 50. My dad has already had like problems with stuff. My mom has. My grandma died when she was young. All because of cholesterol in the family. So although I try to exercise and get better with it, it doesn't work. So recently, or not, I guess in the last few years, they came out with something called atorvastatin. And atorvastatin is the same exact chemical makeup as Lipitor, but it's called the generic. And some people still take Lipitor because when they came out, they got on Lipitor right away and there was no generic for it. And they started taking it and they're getting good results, so they don't want to change. But since I started taking cholesterol medicine like not even a year ago, atorvastatin's been out for a couple of years. So right away, the doctor first gave me a prescription for Crestor actually. Not even Lipitor, Crestor. And I went to CVS, went to fill it up, and for a 1 month supply it was like $300. I'm not paying $300 for a month of supply of this. So I researched it, looked for generics, and the generic cost me $14 for a 3-month supply. $14 for 3 months. It's $5 a month versus the $200 or $300, whatever it was for Crestor. And it's the exact same thing. It has the exact same effects, but you don't have to pay, or you're not paying for the research and design because it's already been researched. It's already been designed. Atorvastatin is literally taking the patent that Lipitor had and recreating the actual chemical makeup. Same exact results, nothing changes, but because you don't have to pay for all that R&D, the product itself costs almost nothing. Okay, but that's the idea of research and design. You're paying for a lot of that when you get a new product. Step 4, conceptualization. So, how are you going to actually come up with ideas of what you're going to do? Okay, maybe you work with a group. What do they call that when you maybe like survey a bunch of people?
Focus group.
Yeah, focus group. So part of your general ideas that you're going to get and your conceptualization comes from, well, how are we going to solve this problem? We have to see what do people want, what do they desire. So has anyone ever been involved in a focus group before? Do you mind sharing your experience? Do you remember what it was?
Games. It was like, I don't know, like I've gone to things where they've had to sit down and talk about social media or something.
Okay, yeah.
It's
So
not like a drug thing, but like.
yeah, I mean that's what it is.
Oh yeah, that's what you did with
We did with the Schofield, like people talk to us about like what we're buying and like fashion and
That's huge. Well, fashion's a good example because if you develop products or items of clothing or hats or whatever it is that people don't want, it's probably not going to sell. So you use focus groups to generate ideas that might help you push you in the right direction. Trying to think. Trying to think of an example. Oh, all right. So I might have actually told you the story. When I was in college, did I tell you that I was working on a chemistry textbook with my teacher? So my chemistry teacher, when I was a sophomore, when I was a sophomore in college, she was very nice. She was a great teacher. She taught all engineers. And as an engineering class, it was all engineering chemistry. She liked to get our feedback and stuff. And she was actually part author in the whole book is Raymond Chang. It's one of the textbook that's been around for a while. They have like 11th, 12th edition now. And she was one of the authors or the co-authors on the book. So she actually had us give our feedback based on what we thought of the current textbook. And then actually one day we went and sat with the author and the people that were in the book, and we had like a round table discussion for a couple hours. They paid us like $200, and in college it was awesome, it was great. For like 3 hours of work, we went in and just gave our feedback, and we got paid a good amount of money. And a lot of the feedback for our chapter, so we were looking at a specific chapter, was the figures and diagrams that were used. And if you've noticed this more, if you look at like old textbooks, there are very few figures, graphs, diagrams. And if you look at new textbooks nowadays, there's a lot more. And that's because people realize that not everybody reads very well and learns from reading very easily. And a lot of people learn from actual pictures, from some sort of visual aid. And I myself, I'm the same way. When I was in college, if I had a class in engineering that like, we didn't have to read, but they encouraged us to read, they would say like, suggested reading assignments, there'd be a list for. So like, for example, my thermodynamics class, a very difficult class. Dr. Whitman, great teacher, but this old man that was very angry at everybody. So he would give reading assignments, and they helped a lot. What I would do is I would skim them for the most part, but I would always look at all the figures and diagrams, because I would look at those and I would kind of explain the entire page worth of work. Now again, I'm not encouraging you guys to read your textbook assignments, you should. Okay, but the idea behind it was that, you know what, a lot of students might use this book more now because there are figures and diagrams in it. So that was part of their focus group at this chemistry textbook writing, whatever, forum that they had that day. They wanted to know how could we encourage more kids to actually buy this textbook and use it, right? Because if you're an upperclassman and an underclassman says to you, did you actually use the book in this teacher's class? And they're like, no, I never used it once. Are you going to probably buy it? No. But if you're like, you know what, I didn't use it much, but the figures were really good, or the homework problems were good, or the chapter summaries really helped me on tests, then you might actually buy it, right? It might be useful. So you want to consider, what does the general population want in that product? So in addition to conceptualizing the product itself, understanding the general timeline for that product. I mean, why is that important, obviously? Why is that last step important, understanding the general timeline that you're looking at? What happens if you don't do that?
We want to be late on the product.
Yeah, you're selling this product. You're an engineer, and you're selling what you're designing, really. So if you're late and you don't meet your deadlines, the people that are actually buying, you're like, I'm not buying this anymore, you meet your deadline. Or you know what, it's 2 weeks late, you want to get the cost cut back, or else we're not buying it anymore. And there's a lot of things in contracts that say, if the product isn't designed and finished by this date, there are a lot of stipulations that come into play. I mean, for example, like obviously the fifth floor had been designed this past summer, right? And when we arrived at school at the beginning of the year, the air conditioning wasn't even working up there still. And we had our first faculty meeting up there before you guys came in, and it was seriously like 95 degrees, and we were sitting there just sweating. Eventually what we did was we moved to a different classroom because we realized that we had windows open and tried to do it. But that's clearly a failure of deadlines. Like that deadline should have been met. That stuff should have been done. Now along the way, obviously, when it comes to things like infrastructure and construction, you can't predict all the things that will happen, right? Like who knows in a building that's been around for 150 years what's in the walls? Maybe when you tear down the walls you recognize, oh my gosh, maybe there's asbestos, and that asbestos has to get removed. Because it's not illegal to build with asbestos anymore because of what it does to your lungs and your cardio system. So you're going to run into hiccups along the way, and some of those stipulations obviously are things that a company can't complain about because it's something they could have done. The construction crew didn't know what was there; they couldn't do anything, and as a result, it has to be backlogged a week. But if you're designing a product and you give your company or you give your client a deadline that you're going to meet, and you don't meet it, that's your fault then. Because you didn't design it, manufacture, do all those things properly. Even if maybe there's a strike on the workforce at the manufacturing plant, you know what, that's your fault. Because you outsourced to that manufacturing plant for them to build your product. The company themselves didn't say, oh, we want them to use it. That's up to you to decide. So timelines are huge when it comes to designing and some sort of a design process. All right, let's see, okay. Step 5 is the actual synthesis. So first, you're going to begin your calculations and run some sort of a computer model. Why is it important to do this, that first step? Why do you want to begin some calculations and computer modeling? What does that do in the long run?
Well, it saves you time. It saves you money. Like, you don't want to build the actual thing and have it not work. So,
It saves you time and money, both things. Computer models are so much easier to design than actual things. You have people that do what you guys were doing last week or yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah. The CAD work every single day. They're told, I need this thing designed, here's what it is, here are the specs, go ahead and do it. Some people love doing that, like really do. And it's not always people that are necessarily like, physics gurus and, love calculus and engineering. Some people are just really good at art and like designing. And then they take that and apply it to computer design. And you guys, you remember Ev from last year. Ev was not like the best physics student I had. She was not in love with math by any means. But she was actually awesome at CAD. And that was, I think, a lot of it because she loved art. If you remember, she was into art last year, and she took a lot of art classes, and she was in Miss Moore all the time. She was one of the best students in CAD. Not necessarily somebody who's going to be, and she even said herself, she's not going to plan to be an engineer, but to design things in the computer, it came second nature to her because of her artistic ability. So again, you're building computer models and you're simulating them so that you don't have to do that with the actual design of the actual product itself. What are the actual finer details? So at this point, you've conceptualized what it is, but now you're breaking it down to the nitty-gritty. Okay, what is the actual geometric constraints that you're going to utilize in here? Can this actually work? Will it physically make sense? You've conceptualized it all. Now we might have to like run some sort of tests. So you might use a finite element program that can model the stress on the object to see if it will snap over time, or to see if that will produce enough energy for the means of it. So ever get those little chargers that are out now for cell phones, the little like power packs? What's the term for that? I don't know. Is it a Mophie? Is that what it's called? The brand? They're little charge packs. Sometimes a cylinder, sometimes a little like they look like hard drives sometimes.
External chargers.
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of those suck. A lot of those are terrible.
They're not for free a lot.
Yeah, a lot of the ones you buy, like you'll see them on like like Groupon or like those Amazon sites. They're like $10. Oh, this is a great deal. You get like 5% of your battery out of it, and it's on full charge. That's terribly designed. It doesn't make sense at all to consider the fact that that much energy is going to be utilized and actually charge your phone. So the design and the process itself wasn't really thought out well. Somebody said, let's just take a battery, put it in this encasement, and sell it on a website that sells discounted items. But the actual design behind it didn't actually get modeled, didn't get tested properly, so that it would work efficiently on phones. Or maybe it was tested with phones that don't use as much computing power than the ones that we have nowadays. When you think about it, your phone uses so much more energy than most appliances around the house do. Your phone uses so much battery power that you need to have these batteries that could be recycled, could be re-energized all the time and not lose their charge. And what do they do now with these design details of phones? So my phone, for example, it's at the end of its life for sure. Okay, I've got one of the HTCs, which I do love. It's a great process, or a great design processor in it. Now, one of the things that sucks, though, is that they took a page out of Apple's book, which I absolutely despise. Androids forever have been open software and open hardware, where you can literally pop them in the back and do whatever you want to. This is one solid piece of aluminum. Even if you can get the back of it off, the battery is now under like 30 layers of things. Why do they do that?
So you can't take it out.
Yeah, so that when you know what? They make these phones so that after a year and a half, the battery's going to die. I've had this for like 2.5 years. And it's still okay, but it's definitely draining. And I'll have days where like it's dead by like 4 o'clock because I've used it a little bit. So to compensate, I have to put it on airplane mode when I'm teaching. I leave it on airplane mode, and then later in the day I turn it back off, so it's still at like 90%. So they do that on purpose. The design is made that way so that after a year and a half, you're forced to buy a new phone. When I had the old HTC, it was called like the Incredible, or the HTC, this is like the One or whatever it is. The old Incredible itself, I actually bought a new battery for it before I replaced it. And I extended the life for like another third year because I didn't buy a new phone. But they're changing things now because of this idea of looking at all the finer details when you're designing something so that your product could make money. It comes back to being money a lot. Let's see, what else? So the geometry of it, the process itself, the materials it's made of. All right, let's go to the next step. My notes. So evaluation. The evaluation. So now you're looking at this actual product. Now this is where I think when I was in engineering school, steps 5 and 6 were probably together. Synthesis and evaluate. Your book puts them separate. But these are overlapping a lot of the stuff that you're going to see here. You're looking at critical design parameters and their effect. Well, what are those critical design parameters, you think? What's an example of a design parameter that's extremely critical for a product? Think about a product and what's something that's so important that if it was not designed properly, it wouldn't work. Try and think of a product where there's some parameter that has to be correct, or else the product wouldn't work or wouldn't even be marketable.
Like when it fails.
What do you mean?
So like if you, I guess like if you take like an elevator and like you design it, like you have to make it so that it's like a safety factor, so that like if you have like X amount of weight, it won't fail. So like even though like an elevator's rated for like 2,000 pounds, even though you might have 2,000 pounds, it's not gonna fail because the safety factor is like.
So you're talking about then material strength.
Right.
Okay, so so that design parameter would be material strength, absolutely. So look, I mean, the flagpole that's hanging outside the building, if that was not built the right way, if it wasn't designed properly, it could snap and fall and like kill that box, right? So there's a design parameter that is critical to your actual building. And there are other design parameters that are not as critical, that you have a little bit of wiggle room with, right? A little bit of leeway. You don't have to be as precise. So for example, soccer balls for high school versus soccer balls for FIFA. Huge difference, right? Huge difference. You're not going to pay the same amount for a high school soccer ball that you will if you use a FIFA. Well, the precision for a high school soccer ball is not the same as what the precision is for a FIFA soccer ball, for a pro level ball. Even baseball is the same thing. MLB baseballs cost like $15, $20 for a single baseball. When you pay for baseballs for high school, it's like, $3, $4 maybe. Because they're that much more precise. All those parameters are perfectly done. So it depends on the application when you're looking at these design parameters and their effect on the actual design. Let's see. Any uncertainties in there? Any calculations you have to check out? Some production plans? What kind of production plans are we talking about there? What might you need to finalize for the production plans themselves? What are some things you have to look at for production plans? Think about manufacturing. What are some final things you have to think about? Percent error, okay. Percent error, how far off you are from the actual design for each product. And that's like your precision, your leeway, if you will. So if the product comes out over a certain threshold, well, it gets rejected and sent back to the process line and gets sent back in. But 80% of them come through. So when we're looking at things like production plans, what else? What are some others? Yeah.
How much it costs to produce?
How much it costs to produce? Good. Can you minimize that cost a little more? What's something you can cut back on? Say again?
Send it to China.
Yeah, usually outsource it to somewhere else. It's true. Send it to some other country where labor is cheaper. Hopefully we do less of that in the coming future. That'd be great. All right. Test working models when possible, if you can make a working model itself. Okay, why might you want to test a working model? Use common sense. Make sure it works. You could do all the computer design in the world and think, oh, this is going to work in a real life application, and then there's something that you forgot about or something that the computer couldn't take into account in some real life application. So for example, maybe the computer couldn't incorporate some sort of temperature variation. And as a result, the product didn't work under given temperatures. We talked about failures in engineering. Remember those the O-rings on the Challenger? Okay, that's something that, maybe in a computer simulation, they never simulated this for temperatures under 30 degrees. But that day it happened to be under 30 degrees. So the actual product testing under all possible conditions is necessary. Under all possible conditions that the product could be used. Okay? All right, step 7, something that I focused on in grad school. That was one of the things that my courses really was like one of my concentrations was optimization. And we've talked about this a lot in this class already, and you should know what it is, but let's take a look at the actual process. So you have an initial design, you perform some sort of analysis, you look at the results. Can it be improved? If it can, you loop back to performing analysis. And this can become an infinite loop. Remember that stupid clip I showed you last year, Big Bang Theory? Where they were stuck in an infinite loop, and then Sheldon came in, and he was like, or not, it was Sheldon, it was Leonard, or no, Howard, the engineer, came in and drew out this, what was called a loop counter. And it said after a certain amount of loops, go to the least desirable outcome, and that's how Sheldon was making a friend. But that's what this is. You could be stuck in an infinite loop if your product continuously could be improved. As soon as it can't be improved anymore, you're at the final design. Okay? So optimization involves a lot of things. It involves minimizing and maximizing, both of those things. Okay? You might want to minimize cost, and you might want to minimize material necessary, like the actual material itself. You might want to maximize strength. You might want to maximize speed if you're designing some sort of an engine that operates a car. You might want to minimize the sound or the noise of a product. What does that mean, the noise? And I don't mean physical noise of sound. It's a term in engineering that's used. What might you minimize? What does that mean, noise? Yeah. So in a car, and I think I went over this example with you guys either in physics or maybe earlier this year. There was a car that was introduced by BMW years ago, and the right passenger door would vibrate uncontrollably from like 60 miles an hour to 80. And it was a failure in the design process because they didn't account for that. So they have to remodel it and come back in. Okay? So over the next 3 days, by Friday, read please. We'll finish up the last, we have like one more step to do. We'll look at an example of one of these, and then we'll go into the implementation for this. Okay? If you need time to catch up on your CAD design, you should be done with the screwdriver for sure. If you're not, you might want to come after school today and just work on it. I'm here after school. If you need to work on the screwdriver still, that's going to be done by Friday. Okay, the other one you're watching the video for, I'm going to give you more time still. Okay, but the screwdriver should be done at this point in time.